My name is Natalie Harper. I'm 28 years old, and until 3 days ago, I was certain I knew exactly who I was going to marry. His name is Ethan Caldwell. 4 years together, 8 months engaged, a spring wedding, already penciled into both our families' calendars. Deposits placed, guest list drafted. Our lives felt structured, predictable in the safest way. We met at a mutual friend's barbecue. He was charming in that effortless way marketing guys are. Quick smile, strong eye contact. He made me feel seen in the first 10 minutes. I remember thinking, this one knows how to choose his words. I work in IT consulting, systems architecture, back-end problem solving, long nights debugging other people's mistakes. Ethan works in marketing, campaigns, brand strategy, client presentations. Together we made sense. Logical and creative, grounded and ambitious. Financially, we were comfortable. Not wealthy, not flashy, just stable. We kept separate accounts but split shared expenses equally, something he insisted on from the beginning. It's important we stay independent, he'd said once, brushing his thumb over my knuckles like it was romantic. Love should never feel transactional. I respected that. Until 11:47 p.m. on Tuesday. I was finishing work emails when my phone buzzed against the kitchen counter. Ethan, I used your card for my reset trip because you love me. Just like that. No question mark, no can I, no would you mind. A statement, an assumption. For a second, my brain refused to process it. I read it twice, then 3 times. Reset trip? What card? My stomach tightened. I walked into the bedroom and opened my wallet. My primary credit card was still there. And then I remembered. The backup card. The one I kept in my desk drawer at home for emergencies. The one linked directly to my main account. The one I barely ever touched. My pulse started pounding in my ears. I opened my banking app with hands that felt too steady for what I was seeing. There it was, $3,847.52, charged to a luxury resort 2 hours outside the city, posted 20 minutes ago. Another charge, $892, high-end spa. Another, $508.33, boutique I'd never heard of. My brain went blank. Then the heat came. Not just anger, humiliation. He hadn't asked. He hadn't mentioned a trip. He hadn't even pretended to discuss it. He had simply taken my card and gone. And that line, because you love me, like my love was a credit limit, like affection meant automatic access. I sat down at the edge of the bed and stared at my phone for 5 full minutes. My breathing slowed. The anger sharpened into something cleaner. Clarity. I typed back, enjoy. 6 letters, period. Then I stood up and called the bank's fraud line at 11:53 p.m. The automated system walked me through the prompts. Report card stolen. Dispute charges. Confirm unauthorized transactions. Did you give anyone permission to use this card? The representative asked. No, I said calmly. I did not. It wasn't technically a lie. He never asked. The card was immediately flagged. A replacement would arrive in 5 business days. The charges were frozen pending investigation. The woman asked if I wanted to file a police report. I'll consider it, I said. Then I hung up. I didn't text Ethan again, didn't call, didn't demand explanations. I set my phone to silent and turned off the lights. I didn't sleep much. I lay in the dark replaying small moments from the last few months. The sudden secrecy with his phone. The way he'd started picking fights over minor things, then love-bombing me the next day. The expensive sneakers he claimed were on clearance, but still carried 4-figure tags. The subtle jokes about how I was too careful with money. Tiny fractures I'd ignored. At 6:32 a.m., my phone exploded with notifications. 17 missed calls. 32 texts. All from Ethan. Nat, why isn't the card working? I'm at breakfast and it's declining. This is embarrassing. Call me. Then, are you seriously ignoring me right now? I'm stuck at this resort. You're making me look like an idiot. And then, the front desk says the card was reported stolen. Did someone hack your account? Finally, at 9:03 a.m. Did you report it stolen? Are you kidding me? How am I supposed to get home? That one made me pause. How am I supposed to get home? Not I'm sorry. Not I messed up. Not I should have asked. Just inconvenience. I left him on red. I showered, got dressed, went to work. My boss noticed I seemed distant. Everything okay? She asked gently. Family situation, I replied. It wasn't untrue. At 10:27 a.m., my phone rang again. Ethan's mother. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was sharp and indignant. Natalie, this is childish. Ethan is stranded and upset. Whatever lover's quarrel this is, you need to fix it. Marriage requires compromise. Lovers quarrel. Like he'd forgotten to take out the trash. Around lunchtime, my phone rang again. Unknown number. Something in my gut told me to answer. Is this Natalie Harper, account holder for card ending in 4738? Yes. This is Detective Harris with the County Sheriff's Office. We received notice regarding disputed charges at Pinecrest Resort. The guest is claiming this may be a misunderstanding between domestic partners. We just need clarification. My heart thudded once. Hard. So you're not calling because he filed something against me? I asked. No, ma'am. We're following up on the fraud report you initiated. The resort wants confirmation whether this is unauthorized use or a domestic financial dispute. I stared at the glass wall of my office. Did you give him permission to use your card? The detective asked. No, I said. He took it from my home without asking and made several large purchases without my knowledge. And your relationship to this individual? I swallowed. He's my fiancé. A beat. Was my fiancé? Silence on the other end. I'd recommend you come in to make a formal statement, the detective said carefully. If you're pursuing this as fraud, documentation matters. I looked down at Ethan's last unread message. You're ruining my life. My chest didn't tighten. It hardened. I'll be there within the hour, I said. And as I ended the call, I realized something that surprised me. I wasn't panicking. I wasn't crying. I wasn't even shaking. I was calm. And that scared me more than the charges ever could. I left work early and told my boss there was a legal matter I needed to handle. She didn't press for details. She just nodded and said, "Take care of yourself." The drive to the station felt surreal. The city looked the same. Traffic lights, pedestrians, coffee shops with people laughing outside. My life, however, had quietly split into a before and after. Detective Harris was in his early 50s. Wedding ring, tired eyes, the kind of face that had seen too many domestic misunderstandings. He gestured for me to sit, walk me through it from the beginning. So I did. The text, the charges, the fact that we had separate finances, the fact that he never asked. I showed him the message. I used your card for my reset trip because you love me. He read it twice. And you had no prior knowledge of this trip? None. Did he have access to your wallet? No, the card was in my desk drawer at home. He leaned back. Engagement doesn't equal financial consent, he said plainly. If he took your property and used your financial information without authorization, that qualifies as fraud. The amount matters too. This isn't a minor charge. Hearing it stated like that, clinical, neutral, did something to me. It removed the romance. It removed the emotion. It left only facts. Off the record, he added, lowering his voice slightly. I see this more often than you'd think. One partner assumes shared access because of the relationship. Sometimes it's ignorance. Sometimes it's entitlement. I held his gaze. It was entitlement. He nodded slowly. If you move forward with charges, it will follow him. Possibly probation. Possibly community service. It won't just disappear. I understand. Are you sure? I thought about the last 6 months. The way Ethan had rolled his eyes when I declined expensive upgrades. The jokes about me being risk-averse. The subtle pressure to loosen up financially. I thought about how he never once asked before taking thousands of dollars. Yes, I said, I want to proceed. He had me sign the statement. Official, documented. By the time I left the station, it was mid-afternoon. My phone lit up the second I stepped outside. Ethan. I didn't answer. A text came through seconds later. They're threatening to call the police. Another. My mom is driving here. This is insane, Natalie. Another. I can't believe you'd do this to me. To me. Still no apology. By evening, I learned through one of our mutual friends what had happened. Ethan had tried to check out of the resort after the card declined at breakfast. The front desk informed him the card was reported stolen and flagged for fraud. He'd apparently turned red, loud, defensive. There's been a mistake, he'd insisted. The manager had politely explained there was no mistake. They required payment. When he couldn't provide another card with sufficient credit, security was mentioned. That's when he called his mother. She drove 2 hours to retrieve him, paid for one night of the stay herself just to prevent escalation. I imagined him standing in that marble-floored lobby, watching staff whisper, realizing the narrative had flipped. He wasn't the charming fiancé on a wellness escape. He was the man flagged for fraud. That night I didn't go home. I went to my older sister Alyssa's apartment. She opened the door before I even knocked. You look calm, she said carefully. I feel calm. She handed me a glass of water. You're really pressing charges? He stole from me. He's your fiancé. Was. She studied me. What about the wedding? A bitter laugh slipped out before I could stop it. What wedding? She didn't argue after that. Around 8 p.m., Ethan called again. This time I answered. There was a pause when he heard my voice. You picked up. Make it quick. He sounded different, not angry, shaken. Please drop the charges, he said. Please, I'll pay you back. Every cent, I swear. I'll get a loan, I'll work overtime. I can't have this on my record. I'll lose my job. You should have thought about that before you used my card. I didn't steal it, he snapped defensively. We're engaged. We're supposed to be a team. Teams ask. Silence. I was stressed, he said finally. Work has been brutal. I just needed a break. And I knew you'd say no because you're always so tight with money. The words hung there. So you took it anyway. I thought you'd understand. Did you plan to tell me? Pause. Longer this time. I would have, he said weakly. When? After. After the charges went through. After the spa weekend. After the boutique shopping. After he spent my money. You're being cruel, he said softly. You're ruining my life over a mistake. My voice didn't rise. I reported fraudulent charges. That's what people do when someone steals from them. We're engaged. Were. The word landed between us like a blade. He inhaled sharply. Don't do this, he whispered. 4 years, Natalie. 4 years meant everything to me, I said. Right up until you decided my boundaries didn't matter. He started crying then. Not loud, not dramatic, but real. For a second, my chest tightened. Then I remembered the text. Because you love me. We're done, Ethan, I said. And I hung up. The next morning, I went home. Not to reconcile. To secure. Ethan had returned from the resort late the previous night. Alyssa texted me that he'd been blowing up her phone too, asking where I was, accusing her of encouraging this. Encouraging what? Consequences? When I walked into the apartment building lobby, the doorman, Mr. Klein, gave me a careful look. Everything all right, Ms. Harper? It will be, I said. Upstairs, the apartment felt different, quieter, like it already knew. Ethan's suitcase was gone. A few drawers half open, closet slightly disturbed. He must have come back briefly before going to his parents' place. I stood in the living room and opened the smart lock app on my phone. 2 taps. Remove user access. His digital key disappeared. Then I called the building manager. I need to remove Ethan Caldwell's access to the building immediately. He's not on the lease. A pause. He's not listed as a tenant, she confirmed. I know. Please ensure he cannot obtain entry without my authorization. It will be handled. I ended the call and leaned against the kitchen counter. Technically, he'd been meaning to finalize paperwork to be added to the lease for months. We'd talked about it casually. Soon, he'd said. After the wedding. Thank God we never got around to it. Around noon, my phone exploded again. Ethan. His mom. His sister. A number I didn't recognize that left a voicemail from his father. This is getting out of hand, his father's voice barked. You're destroying something over pride. Pride. I blocked everyone except Ethan. I wanted to see what he would say when stripped of the chorus. His text came in waves. First anger. You changed the locks? You can't just erase me. This is insane. Then bargaining. Please, Natalie, let's just talk. I made a mistake. We can fix this. Then victimhood. You're going to ruin my career. My boss already knows something's up. My mom is hysterical. And finally, you're really throwing away 4 years over money? I stared at that one. It was never about the money. It was about the assumption, the entitlement, the fact that he believed I would absorb the cost quietly. At 3:15 p.m., Detective Harris called. Just updating you, he said. Mr. Caldwell has been informed of the investigation. He's claiming it was a misunderstanding between engaged partners. Of course he is. The amount pushes this beyond small claims. If we move forward, it becomes a formal charge. His attorney has already reached out. Attorney. The word felt heavy. What are they asking? I said. They're offering restitution if you agree to drop charges. I closed my eyes briefly. How much? Full repayment of charges plus any bank fees. And if I don't? We proceed with theft and fraud. Given it's a first offense, likely probation and community service, but it goes on record. I thought about Ethan sitting in that resort lobby, about his mother driving 2 hours, about the way he'd said I was too tight with money. I want every cent back, I said, including the fraud investigation fees. That's reasonable. He has 60 days. They're asking for 90. 60, I repeated. There was a pause. I'll relay that. When I hung up, I felt something shift. Not relief, not satisfaction. Finality. That evening, Ethan showed up at my office building. Security called me down to the lobby. He's asking to see you, the guard said gently. Through the glass doors, I saw him. Wrinkled shirt, red eyes, no charm left. For a split second, I saw the man from the barbecue 4 years ago. Then I remembered the text. I walked to the other side of the glass. We didn't open the doors. You're really doing this? He asked hoarsely. You really did it first. It was a weekend, he said. I needed space. You needed permission. He ran a hand through his hair. I thought we shared everything. We share what we agreed to share. You're acting like I robbed a stranger. You robbed me. People in the lobby were pretending not to listen. His jaw tightened. You'll regret this, he said quietly. I studied him. No, I replied. I'll regret ignoring it. Security stepped closer. Sir, you need to leave. He looked at me one last time. There was something new in his eyes. Not anger. Fear. Realization that this wasn't a fight he could charm his way out of. He turned and walked away. That night, Alyssa sat beside me on her couch. You okay? She asked. I think so. You don't seem devastated. I'm not. She tilted her head. That's what scares me. I looked at my hands. I'm devastated about who I thought he was, I said quietly, not about who he turned out to be. My phone buzzed one more time before I went to bed. Unknown number. Voicemail. Ms. Harper, this is Daniel Reeves, attorney representing Mr. Caldwell. We'd like to discuss terms of restitution. I didn't call back. Not yet. Because somewhere between the fraud report and the lock change, something else had happened. I had stopped seeing Ethan as my future and started seeing him as a lesson. The attorney called again the next morning. This time I answered. Ms. Harper, he began smoothly, my client acknowledges poor judgment. He's prepared to make this right. Define right. Full repayment of the resort, spa, boutique charges, and any bank-related fees. In exchange, you sign a statement declining to pursue criminal charges. And the timeline? We're requesting 90 days. 60, I said. A brief pause. He's currently facing employment instability due to this situation. That's unfortunate. Silence. May I ask, he said carefully, is there any room for compassion here? I thought about Ethan in the lobby, about his accusation that I was ruining his life. I had compassion, I replied. He used it. Another pause. I'll speak with my client. When I hung up, I expected to feel cruel. Instead, I felt precise. By afternoon, Ethan began another campaign, this time public. A long post on social media, vague enough to avoid direct admission, dramatic enough to gain sympathy. Sometimes the person you love most becomes the one who hurts you the deepest. I made a mistake, and now I'm facing consequences that don't fit the crime. He didn't name me. He didn't have to. The comments filled quickly. Some friends rallied behind him. Everyone deserves forgiveness. 4 years isn't nothing. But others were sharper. Wait, did you use her card without asking? Why didn't you just call her first? Bro, that's fraud. I watched quietly from my private account. 6 hours later, the post disappeared. Someone must have advised him that publicly discussing an active fraud case wasn't wise. That night, he called again. I hesitated, then answered. His voice was exhausted. They're telling me if this goes forward, it'll follow me everywhere. That's usually how records work. Why are you like this right now? Like what? Cold. I leaned back against Alyssa's kitchen counter. I'm not cold, I'm consistent. I said I'd pay you back. You said you thought I wouldn't notice. That's not what I meant. It is. Silence. Then quieter. My ex, Olivia, she used to say I had impulse control issues. There it was. The first crack of honesty. Did she ever press charges? I asked. No. Did she ever stay? Another silence. No. I absorbed that. Patterns. Not accidents. I'm not Olivia, I said calmly. I know. Do you? His breathing hitched. I never thought you'd go this far. I never thought you'd go that far. The symmetry sat between us. Please, he whispered, drop it. I'll sign anything. I'll transfer money in installments. I'll go to therapy. I'll do whatever you want. It's not about what I want, I said. It's about what you did. You're going to end my career. You endangered it. You're supposed to protect me. I almost laughed. I'm not your shield from your own decisions. He exhaled shakily. So that's it? Yes. Long pause. I loved you, he said. The past tense was accidental and revealing. I closed my eyes briefly. I loved who I thought you were. He didn't respond. I'll give you 60 days, I added. Full repayment, every fee. After that, it goes forward. You'd really send me to court? If necessary. The call ended without goodbye. 3 days later, Detective Harris called again. They've agreed to 60. Good. Your firmness surprised them. It shouldn't have. That evening, I finally went back to my apartment alone. The place felt bigger without him. Less cluttered, less noise. His sneakers were gone, his cologne scent faded. On the kitchen counter sat the wedding folder. Venue contracts, catering quotes, guest list drafts with handwritten notes. I opened it slowly. The venue deposit had been placed under Ethan's name. He'd insisted on putting it on his card for points, like it was harmless. Non-refundable. I felt a strange flicker of relief. At least one financial consequence wouldn't touch me. My phone buzzed again. A cashier's check confirmation photo. 45 days, he texted. You'll have it. Attached was a scanned receipt from his bank. $5,247.85. Every cent of the resort, spa, boutique, plus the fraud investigation fees. I stared at the number. It wasn't triumph, I felt. It was equilibrium, a correction, a balance restored. Later that night, Alyssa sat across from me on the couch. "Do you feel powerful?" she asked gently. I considered it. "No," I said, "I feel awake." She nodded slowly. "And the wedding?" I glanced toward the spare bedroom closet. Inside, a box sat on the top shelf. The engagement ring he had given me. $6,000. Platinum band. Oval diamond. Beautiful. Symbolic. Now just an object. "I haven't decided yet," I said quietly. Outside, the city hummed like nothing had changed. But something fundamental had. I wasn't grieving the loss of Ethan. I was grieving the illusion of partnership. And as I turned off the lights, I realized something else. He thought love meant access. I learned love means consent. And that difference? It cost him everything. The cashier's check arrived on day 45. Not mailed to my apartment. Delivered to Alyssa's address by courier, signature required. I stared at the envelope for a long moment before opening it. $5,247.85. Every charge, every fee, every dollar he assumed I would absorb. It felt strange holding it. Not victorious, not dramatic, just finished. I called Detective Harris. "They've paid in full," I said. "Then if you're satisfied, we'll document restitution and close the criminal filing." Satisfied. The word lingered. "Yes," I said calmly. "Close it." There was paperwork, signatures, final confirmations. And just like that, the legal storm dissolved. But the social one didn't. Word had spread through our mutual circle. Versions of the story floated around, some accurate, some distorted. He just needed a break. She overreacted. He made a stupid mistake. She pressed fraud charges on her own fiancé. My mother called one evening, voice tight with concern. "Maybe you could have handled it privately," she said gently. "Men make impulsive decisions sometimes." "So do women," I replied evenly. "They're still responsible for them." There was a pause. "You're not worried about being alone?" she asked quietly. I looked around my quiet living room. "No." My father called later that week. "I would have done the same thing," he said. "Respect is not optional." Alyssa, ever blunt, raised a glass of wine and said, "You've got steel in your spine." My cousin texted, "You're going to die single at this rate." I didn't respond. Because here's what none of them fully understood. It wasn't about punishment. It was about pattern interruption. Ethan didn't disappear quietly. He showed up at my office once more. Security escorted him out before he even reached reception. He waited outside Alyssa's building for 2 hours one evening until she threatened to call the police. He sent long messages at 2 a.m. "I'm in therapy now. I know I messed up. I've been thinking about what you said." Then one that surprised me. Olivia used to warn me that I blurred boundaries when I felt stressed. There it was again. The ex-girlfriend. Not a villain, not crazy. A woman who had seen this before I did. Patterns don't start with you. They just continue through you. I didn't respond. 3 months passed. The wedding venue sent a final notice about the non-refundable deposit. It was in Ethan's name. His problem. I packed the wedding folder into a box and slid it under my bed. Not as a shrine, as a file. Life grew quieter. I went on a few dates. Nothing serious. Coffee. Conversations. Polite goodnights. I wasn't searching for replacement. I was recalibrating. I signed up for a woodworking class on a whim. There's something grounding about shaping raw material with your hands. Measuring. Cutting. Sanding. Precision. Control. Creating something stable out of something rough. The first piece I built was a small bookshelf. It wasn't perfect, but it stood upright without wobbling. That mattered. One evening, as I was organizing the closet, I found the engagement ring box. I opened it slowly. The diamond caught the light, still flawless. $6,000 of intention, or illusion. I held it in my palm and felt nothing. No anger, no longing, just clarity. I could sell it, keep it, melt it down. It didn't matter. Because the real lesson wasn't in the ring. It was in the text. Because you love me. Love isn't currency. It isn't permission. It isn't silent compliance. It's asking. It's respecting the answer. Last week, someone asked me if I regretted how I handled everything. If you'd just talked it out, they said, maybe you'd still be engaged. Maybe. But engaged to who? A man who believed my boundaries were negotiable? A man who mistook access for affection? No, I don't regret it. Not even slightly. Ethan is engaged again, I heard. To someone new. I genuinely hope he learned something. I hope he asks now. I hope he pauses before assuming. But that's not my responsibility. My responsibility is this. The next person I love will understand that partnership isn't about entitlement. It's about agreement. It's about consent. It's about two people choosing each other, not using each other. The apartment is quiet now. Calm. Stable. And when I think back to that Tuesday night at 11:47 p.m., I don't feel anger. I feel gratitude. Because that text didn't just reveal who Ethan was. It revealed who I am. And I'd rather stand alone with my boundaries intact than stand beside someone who thinks love is a loophole.